Audio check 1 2 1 2.
Is BINO Nation in the building? Put those emojis in the chat.
That's my gang.
Woke up still grinding, dreams don't drift away. Blueprints on the table, paint the path my way. Stacks on my desk, starting out the day. Ideas lifting off, I'm the engine in play. Caffeine in my bloodstream, rhythm in my chest. I move with intention, never settling for less. Life is a chessboard, I'm 3 steps ahead. While they fade in dreams, I'm making that bread. Overload, but I still ride slow. Pressure on me, but it helped me grow. Overload, feel it head to toe. Still I hold the line when the storms all blow. Overload, but my heart won't break. Turning all the way in the moves I make. Overload, yeah, the climb I take. Building up a world only real ones make. They talk 9 to 5, but I'm breathing the grind. Turning losses into lessons, polishing the mind. Phone buzzing, daily opportunity speaks. While they chase distraction, I'm reaching my peaks. Call me Alice, world weight on my spine. Every scar earned, made the blueprint refined. While they binge on noise, I'm ready for the climb. Turn a single spark to a fire divine. Numbers in my sight, dreams in my hands. Building every day with deliberate plans. I'm the pulse of the hustle, the strength in the night. Turning every shadow into sun with light. Overload, but I still ride slow. Pressure on me, but it helped me grow. Overload, feel it head to toe. Still I hold the line when the storms all blow. Overload, but my heart won't break. Turning all the way in the moves I make. Overload, yeah, the climb I take. Building up a world only real ones make. Weight on my shoulders, but I walk with grace. Turning every try to a milestone place. Late night stack, but it sharpen my aim. Every sacrifice fuels a fire in my veins. Overload, but I shine through rain. Turning all the pressure into gold from pain. Overload, but I still remain. Standing on the grind that became my lane. Overload, man, I won't let go. Every setback, just another push to grow. Overload, watch the empire glow. I was built for the heights, now I rise, now I know. Overload, but I move with soul. Holding every dream like it's made of gold. Overload, but the truth I hold. I was built for the climb, now I rise and unfold.
If we agree with you, then we're black. We love black people. If we find ourselves in opposition to what you say, all of a sudden we hate ourselves and we hate black people. Who died and left you that kind of authority with your opinion? Who? Tell me.
You said the mask don't fit me, but it's glued to my name. Every headline paints me wicked, cause I won't think the same. You see trouble when I walk in, like I set this place on fire. But I just talk like my granddaddy, and it cuts through all your quiet. You want me to be the villain, so I'll be there. I'll be there. Not a shadow that you're killing, I'm the storm that's fighting back. I'm not a villain, I'm a super villain. That's a fact. You wrote the script, I'm just living, so I'll be there. I'll be there. You get nervous when I'm smiling, cause you know it's not for show. I won't bow to your approval, I'm too grown to play that role. You throw labels like they shackles. Try to change what I believe, but your story got a plot hole. When I'm the one that's free, you want me to be the feeling, so I'll be that. I'll be that. Hey, not a shadow that you're killing, I'm the storm that's fighting back. I'm not a villain, I'm a super villain. That's a fact. You wrote the script, I'm just living, so I'll be that. I'll be that. Call me heartless, call me crazy, call me every name you know. All that talk just turns to power, watch my true colors glow. You want me to be the villain, so I'll be that. Not a shadow that you're killing, I'm the storm. Fighting back. I'm not a villain, I'm a super villain. That's a fact. You drew the line, I crossed it grinning, so I'll be that. I'll be that.
You are now rocking with the best. Support the Angry Man. Support the stream.
Yeah. They know my name, they know my word, but they still throw dirt. Ha! Yeah. Been a decade in the game, 10 plus in the rain. Been a king from the mud, turned up on them every string. They were lurking on my chat, screenshotting every frame. Took my slang, took my cadence, then pretended we the same. They was praying for my downfall while they copying my blueprint. Yeah. Every topic that I touch turn the trend, now they abuse it. They be whispering in DMs, plotting on me, try to stop my rise. Try to ice me out the story, still I burn right through the lies. Yeah. I'm the people's champ, I'm the angry man. Say my name, steal my style, never steal my hands. They can throw that dirt, still I rise again. You can hate my goods, but watch me rant. I'm the people's champ, I'm the angry man. They can twist my words, never twist my stance. Blame me for it all, I just take that chance. Cause they know I'm best, they don't want my shine to last. No, they was flagging every upload, sending shots behind the scenes, posting pictures of my family, trying to crack me at the scene. Drop my name up in the phone, type my address on the site. Thought the fear would make me vanish, told them pussies catch a flight. Every time they build a boycott, I just build another brand. Turn a smear into a slogan, made a movement out to slander. Understand, they be calling me the villain, why they quoting every line. I'm the mirror that they scared of, so they cover up my life. I'm the people's champ, I'm the angry man. Say my name. They can steal my style, never steal my hands. They can throw that dirt, still I rise again. You can hate my goods, but watch me rain. I'm the people's champ, I'm the angry man. They can twist my words, never twist my stance. Blame me for it all, I just take that chance. Cause they know I'm best, they don't want my shine to last. Nah. They gon' blame me for the storm, blame me for the rain, blame me cause I said it, just remember we ain't the same. They gon' cry about my tone, but they study every take. You can hate on every move, you can cancel what I made. Nah, I'm the people's champ, I'm the angry man. Say my name. They can steal my style, never steal my hands. They can throw that dirt, still I rise again. You can hate my goods, but watch me rain. I'm the people's champ, I'm the angry man. They can twist my words, never twist my stance. Blame me for it all, I just take that chance. That's why they hate the man.
Radio check 1 2 1 2.
Is BINO Nation in the building? Put those emojis in the chat.
That's my gang.
So, y'all ain't gonna believe what I just endured. Crap that I just had to go through. You have absolutely no idea. But before we get into that, there's two things I notice that niggas have a problem with when it come to me. Niggas cannot stand the fact that I'm a Donald Trump supporter. And we're going to get back to that in a second. The other thing that niggas can't stand about me is that I'm a Drake supporter. And I'm not even going to lie. The animosity is comparable. There's just as much Trump hate, or excuse me, there's just as much Drake hate as there is Trump hate. And some of you individuals really don't want to understand why I rock with Drake. So this is what I'm going to do. One time and one time only, I'm going to give you the God's honest truth as to why I listen to Drake. So, at one point in my life, I was in the struggle. It's just like Drake said in that song, Burning Bridges. He said, my niggas didn't have a pot to piss in. Now they dropped the top so much they got a drop addiction. I honestly don't think I'm ever going to go back to not having a drop top. Like, I love having a drop top. You have no earthly idea. And here's the crazy thing. I never thought I would be one of those guys. Like, back in the day when I was younger, I used to see people with drop tops, but I didn't really like drop tops. I didn't like the cloth, because, you know, a lot of the cars had the cloth drop top. So, you know, and then the cars that had the hard top that you could drop was always out of my price range. But now, I really don't even want a car if it ain't got a drop top. That's why when Drake said that shit, he said, my niggas didn't have a pot to piss in. Now they dropped the top so much they got a drop addiction. Nigga. That line hit for me. So to everybody that's wondering why I rock with Drake, like I said, there was a time when I was younger, I didn't have a pot to piss in. I was in the struggle. And not only was I in the struggle, but I was also in the mind state that the reason I was in the struggle was because of the man, the government, the white boogeyman. So everything that I went through, every problem that I had, I didn't take no responsibility for that shit. I believed it was somebody else's problem. Somebody else caused it, because I used to have that old messed up ass mind frame, even though somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew it was bullshit. So back then, I used to love struggle rap. I used to love rap music that basically was confirmation bias. So if somebody put out a rap album that was talking about the struggle, you know, songs that anybody that's going through it can identify with. And I used to love those songs because, like I said, they were confirmation bias, right? But this is what I learned. As I began to progress, as I began to finally find success and finally live better in life, you know what I found? And I don't know, maybe it's maturity. Who knows? Maybe it's maturity, maybe it's wisdom, maybe it's just the natural progression of getting older, or maybe it's because of the success. I don't completely know, but I do know this. I got tired of hearing that struggle rap. That's for damn sure. It was depressing. Even some of the songs I used to like back in the day, I can't even listen to them now. I can't listen to them now. Like, I'll put it to you like this. It's Wednesday. Every other Wednesday, my accountant, well, not the accountant, one of the people on my accounting team, they send me a text message for me to approve my payroll. And basically what this is me telling them, it's them sending me the pay stub to look at the amount and me telling them I approve of it so that the payroll company can take the money out of my account, take a portion of that money, pay my taxes, and then cut me a check, right? So basically, I pay myself. Basically, I sign my own checks, right? So there's that. If I decided to go somewhere tomorrow, and I told my wife, I said, hey, you know what? I want to go to New York tomorrow. And she said, why? No reason. I just feel like going. We're going to get up, get in the car, go down to RDU Airport, go to I forgot what it's called, but it's park something. I forgot, but it's where you park your car where, you don't got to worry about nobody breaking into your car. So you go there, you get the ticket, you park your car, and they got shuttles that's running all the time. So as soon as you park your car, a shuttle is going to pull up. The dude get out, the dude to come out, he'll put the bags on the truck, on the bus, on the shuttle. And you get on there and he takes you to the airport. When I get to the airport, I'm not going to have to wait in no lines, right? I'm going to go straight through, go to my terminal. When they announce that people can board the plane, they're going to announce that the disabled get on the plane first. Then next is going to be anybody that's armed forces. And then they call out first class. I'm going to get on the plane first class. I'm going to fly to JFK. When I get off the plane at JFK, I'm going to have a black truck service come pick me and my wife up. They're going to drive us to the city, which most people, especially if you're in the South, you think the whole New York is the city. But when I say the city, I'm talking about Manhattan. I'm going to go to Manhattan. I'm going to stay at the best hotels. And I'm going to just enjoy myself. And then get chauffeured around, going wherever I want to go, buying whatever I want to buy, doing whatever I want to do. It's kind of hard to listen to struggle rap when you experience shit like that. When you're able to go to fine restaurants, when you're able to buy the things you want out of life, it's really hard to listen to struggle rap. Now, Drake, on the other hand, Drake not only raps about things that I can now relate to because of the position I'm in life, but he's also his music is also inspiring to climb higher. So whenever somebody tells me that they don't really like Drake like that, in all honesty, it kind of tells me where you're at in life. Maybe not in every case, but in many cases, it lets me know that you may not have experienced the finer things in life. And maybe you just can't relate to the shit he be talking about, because a lot of shit he talking about you may have never experienced. So to make a long story short, the reason why a lot of you can't relate to Drake is because you're fucking broke. Those of you that are haters of Drake, it's because you're broke. There's no nice way to say it. Now, I'm not saying that to shit on you or to try to be pretentious or any of that shit, because I've been broke before. But I can tell you this. I would rather be where I'm at right now, listening to Drake and his feel-good music, than to be somewhere fucking struggling, trying to figure out what I'm going to do while listening to niggas this rich spit struggle rap as if they still fucking struggling. That's for damn sure. So nowadays, I don't want to hear no rap if it ain't inspirational. I don't want to hear no rap if it ain't talking about improving, climbing higher, achieving goals, things of that nature. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I'm going to listen to Drake. And for those of you that keep saying Drake is pop and he's not hip hop, I'm going to tell you what category Drake's music is. Drake's music is light-skinned music, nigga. His music is light-skinned music, nigga. And I ain't gonna front. When I listen to his music, I be feeling extra light-skinned. I be feeling extra light-skinned, nigga. Now, if some of you think I'm trolling, I am trolling a little bit because you niggas pissed me off earlier today. Which brings us to the next subject, which is Donald Trump. Like I said at the offset of this show, right? And look, I'm gonna keep it funky with y'all. I honestly feel like niggas are getting on my nerves so bad that they're pushing me into my true villain era. Like, I really feel like y'all pushing me into my super villain era. Now, some of y'all are gonna be like, well, what does that look like, Angry Man? Because you've already been on some villainous type shit. I'm gonna tell you what it looked like. In a hot second, I'm about to be on some elitist shit. I'm not even gonna front. And the reason why is because I'm like, bro, I'm tired. I'm tired of you niggas. I'm tired of you niggas. And by the way, BINO Nation, when I address the camera like that and I say I'm tired of you niggas, I'm not talking about the BINO Nation, because y'all kind of have the same outlook, the same mindset as me. I'm talking about the niggas that's watching from the clouds, because apparently niggas that have a problem with my talking points, niggas that don't like the shit that I say, niggas that got issue with every single thing that comes out of my mouth, they are watching from the clouds. Because every time I'm on a panel, there's always somebody on the panel that got an issue with me. And the first thing out of their mouth is, Angry Man, I don't like when you said such and such. And I'm like, oh, wow. So you was watching me. So you niggas do be watching me. Right? Speaking of elite, make sure you guys are supporting the show. Anybody that drops 20 or more, your messages will be read first during the BINO roll call. If you want your message read immediately, all you got to do is drop 100 or more. You will be a sponsor of the show. If you want to be a super sponsor of the show, in other words, if you balling like that, if you on that grown man time, you can be a super sponsor by dropping 500 or more. But I don't know, man. I've been self-reflective lately because growing up, there was this thought that was swimming around in the back of my head. And I struggle with this thought. The reason why I struggle with this thought is because I was always raised to be humble. I was always taught that when it comes to the culture, we're all the same and, you know, all of that shit. But just like with so many other things, I've come to realize that a lot of my upbringing, a lot of things that I was taught was incorrect. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of shit I learned coming up that helped me tremendously. There's also a lot of shit that was incorrect, right? So the thought that has been swimming around in my head for a long time is there's been times I've been in social circles and I'm sitting there looking around at everybody and what everybody's doing and shit. And even though I never said it verbally, there was a voice in the back of my head screaming at me, why are you here? You are so much better than these niggas. Now, I know there's going to be people that's going to have a problem with that. I really don't care. Because many of you in the BINO Nation, you've had this thought. I know you have. I know you have been in a social circle where niggas is rolling up blunts, getting ready to smoke a blunt, drinking liquor and shit. And we ain't talking about no expensive liquor. We talking about cheap liquor. We talking about some old bullshit. Niggas smoking on some bap ass weed and drinking some bullshit ass liquor. And you sitting there thinking to yourself like, bro, I know what a place setting is. I know proper etiquette. I know the difference between a blazer and a dinner jacket. I know the difference between a dinner fork and a salad fork. I know the difference between a soup spoon and a dinner spoon. What the fuck am I doing around these bum ass niggas? But because as a culture, we constantly have it beaten into our brains. We are constantly browbeat into believing you ain't no better than nobody else. It's a lie. And the worst thing you could ever do is tell your children, especially if you're raising your children right, and you're giving them everything you can give them, the worst thing you could ever tell your children is everybody's the same and you're no better than anybody else and they're no better than you. That's bullshit. And by teaching them that mentality, you're actually hindering them, because with that mentality, they may hang around people that ain't no good for them. They may hang around people that are beneath them. And when you hang around people that's beneath you, their bullshit rubs off on you. Their bullshit may even get you in trouble. Because I guarantee you, there's a bunch of you that you probably was struggling and broke for a long time, and you probably couldn't figure out why. You're like, yo, I'm trying. I'm doing everything I can do to be successful, but it just ain't happening for me. I'm going to tell you why. Because you surrounded yourself around a bunch of good-for-nothing, broke-ass, bum-ass niggas for the sake of racial unity. For the sake of racial unity. And it's those niggas' energy, right? You remember on Dragon Ball Z when Goku wanted to become a deity and all of the Saiyans had to get around him and hold hands and give them his energy? It's like that, except the reverse. You got all of these niggas around you, and what they're doing, unbeknownst to them, is they are generating and transferring bum-ass energy to you. And you're trying to figure out, why am I where I'm at? Why is this going on? Because you're around these bum-ass niggas. You know when I started being successful? When I got the fuck away from everybody. When I got away from everybody and got on my grind, that's when I started being successful. I wish I had done that shit sooner. And I know what some of you going to say. Angry man, why would you say all? I mean, nigga, I don't care. It's the funniest shit in the world to me. I get on panels and niggas be questioning me. Why'd you say this, angry man? Why'd you say that, angry man? Angry man, you said the community was trash. I absolutely did. I absolutely did say the culture was trash. But for some reason, you niggas think that means I hate the culture. Let me ask you this question. If you walk into your house and your house is a mess because the kids and everybody in that house done messed everything up and made it into a pigsty. If you walk in there and you look around at the house and you say, oh my God, this house looks terrible, does that mean you hate the house, or does that mean you want the house cleaned up? Which one? You want it cleaned up. So if I say the culture's trash, doesn't mean I hate the culture. It means I'm looking around at it and I'm saying it's past time this shit got cleaned up. But what happens when you're in a house? Let's say you don't own the house. Let's say that you live in a house where you've got 5 other roommates and y'all split the rent up equally. And every day you come into that house, it's some bullshit going on. Every day you come into that house, it's messy. And one day somebody, a family member or a friend or something says, so how's it going with your place and your roommates? And you say to them, yo, man, that crib is trash. That doesn't mean you hate the crib. That means you want it cleaned up. But what happens if you go in there and you tell your roommates, you have a meeting with the roommates and you tell the roommates, hey, man, this house has been a wreck. This house is a pigsty. We got to clean this shit up, right? And let's say you try to clean it up, but every time you clean it up, the next day you come home from work, it's back a mess. Well, eventually, you're going to get tired of cleaning up. But you're still going to say something to the other roommates. Look, man, we got to pitch in and keep the place clean. How long do you have to go through that, especially if the roommates are giving you pushback? Especially if the roommates are gaslighting you and say, yo, man, there's nothing wrong with the house. Even though you're looking right at it and there's a mess. And they're looking at you saying, bro, there's nothing wrong with the house. You just saying that shit because you want something to argue about. You just saying that shit because you want to make us look bad. No, nigga, the house is a mess. How long are you going to go through that before finally you say, you know what? Y'all can have this motherfucker. I'm moving out. How long? How long? That's the way I feel about the culture. It's a mess. It needs to be cleaned up. And every time I say something to the rest of you niggas about cleaning it up, you want to give me pushback. But then if I was to say, you know what? Fuck y'all. Fuck the culture. I'm out. I'm not going to participate in this shit. I'm not going to come to the hood. I'm not going to come to black neighborhoods. I'm going to stay the hell away from y'all. See, then you're going to be calling me a coon. Then you're going to be calling me a sellout. Then you're going to be saying, oh, that's messed up, Angry Man. Why you didn't stick it out with us? Because you niggas ain't shit. And instead of you taking me critiquing the shit as a genuine concern that comes from a place of, I want this shit to be better, since you want to vilify me and make me feel like shit because I'm pointing this out, nigga, you can have it. You can have it. You can have it. I'm not going to keep fighting you. Because it's obvious you niggas like debauchery. You like dysfunction. You like filth. I don't. I don't like it. But what I had to endure earlier is I was on a panel and niggas started bringing up Donald Trump because that's what niggas do. And by the way, y'all, we still waiting on some more support. If we can't get more support, we're going to shut it down. If we can't get more support, we're going to shut it down. So support the show, support the stream, and we definitely need a sponsor. Matter of fact, before I go into the main topic and what happened, we're going to wait, see if we get some more support, because we got one super chat. We got one super chat, and we got a couple of cash apps. Yo, shout out to Forever Studios for sponsoring the show.
That's that BINO energy.
Well, it's a lot better than we usually do.
All right, thumbs up.
Ready, guys?
Let's do this. Leroy Jenkins.
And shout out to my man Carell for being a sponsor of the show.
That's that BINO energy.
Well, it's a lot better than we usually do.
All right, thumbs up.
Ready, guys?
Let's do this. Leroy Jenkins.
Carell said, nah, these niggas need cooking. Forever Studio said, blessings, AM. Appreciate y'all. So, first, let's deal with the elephant in the room. Let's deal with the first thing, right? The first thing is a gentleman on another show who loves to throw shots at me, who loves to bring me up because he's trying his best to use me for clout, had the nerve to say that I was predatory towards young men, that I take advantage of men's anger and frustration with women, which is by far the most ridiculous fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. So I said, screw it, I have the conversation. So as I'm talking to him, I'm like, bro, do you even really watch my content like that? I hold men just as accountable as I hold the women. I've went in on men numerous times. And how these young men interpret my content, that ain't on me. So if they hear me give a critique and they want to use that to be mad at women, then they're going to get the result that comes with that. But my intention was never to make men hate women. And anybody that has ever watched my content or really paid attention to my content knows that. Now, some kind of way, this conversation transformed into Trump. And I'm going to tell you the truth, man. These people, when it comes to Donald Trump, they have a sickness, bro. When I say they have a sickness, bro, it's not even funny. Shout out to a Burn King. He said, another in the culture, mediocrity, LBJ NBA player, stunted growth. Too inconsistent in his work, yet Black Americans claim, oh, nah, he the GOAT. It's a better league now. 90s whack and slow. Appreciate you for being a sponsor.
That's that BINO energy.
Oh, it's good.
Matter of fact, y'all forgive me. I thought it was going to cool out here. I thought it was going to cool off out here, but it's still just as hot as it was earlier today. This shit is crazy. Wondering, should I take it in the crib? Yeah, I think I'm gonna take it in the crib and get some AC. So you guys stay right here for a second. Don't go anywhere. We're gonna take this to the studio. I should have brought my shades up here, because this shit fucking lights is bright as fuck. So press 1 if y'all can hear me. So, like I was saying, the fuck? Now my contacts want to mess with me. So, like I was saying, some kind of way, the conversation ended up being about Donald Trump. And I'm not even gonna lie, these individuals What in the fuck? Hold on, y'all. Let me get my shades. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Fucking bright ass lights and shit. But yeah, so the level of, I don't want to say Trump derangement syndrome, but the level of hatred that these people have for one particular man, it's weird. I don't care how white he is. It's weird. There's no other way to describe it. Like, press a 1 if y'all were over there watching the show. It was on Trey's show. Press a 1 if y'all were watching. So they kept asking questions about Donald Trump. They were asking about his presidency. They were asking about his policies. They were asking about whether or not he was racist. They were going into this and that. And let's be clear, many of the things they were saying about Donald Trump, it was just regurgitated talking points. They were really just repeating the sentiment of mainstream media. And they try to act like me and the other guys that were answering questions, they was trying to act like we were deflecting, right? But me understanding why they were doing what they were doing, at one point I said, oh, I get it. Every time they hurled an accusation or asked a question, we had an answer for it. I definitely had an answer every single time. Every single time they said something, I had an answer for it. And most people would be like, well, maybe they didn't like your answer. Maybe that's why they kept going hard in the paint, because no matter what answer I gave them, but what about Trump? We're talking about Trump. We're talking about his administration. We're talking about what he's done right now that's affecting the American citizens. And I'm just sitting there listening to this, and I'm like, wow. This is proof of how powerful mainstream media is. I have never heard black people hate a president the way they hate this man. We've had previous presidents that have done a lot of wild shit. And I've never in all my days of living ever heard black people go this hard in the paint about a president. Usually, what black people do is they're indifferent to politics. Usually, they don't give a damn what a president is doing. I mean, sure, they'll complain about the cost of living. They'll complain about the struggle. They'll complain about the government. But usually, black folks' anger is directed at the whole of the society. It's directed at the whole of the government. They have never singled out a president like this. I didn't hear black people talk about Joe Biden like this. I didn't hear black people talk about Barack Obama like this. Hell, I didn't even hear them talk about George Bush Jr. or George Bush Sr. about this. They definitely didn't talk about Bill Clinton about this, like this. They didn't. They didn't. And so I'm sitting there listening to him, and I finally figured out what it was. I said, oh, you're not getting upset because you don't like my answers. You're getting upset because I have an answer. I think they believed, because whenever they're watching mainstream media will have these hand-picked conservatives that are not there to give real pushback, but basically there to try to make conservatives look stupid. So because of this, these individuals see that on TV, and then they come here to YouTube and they think that the rest of us are stupid. They think we don't have any damn counter talking points to their talking points. They don't think we have any answers. So when they encounter me like they did today, every time they said something, I had an answer. And they're never going to admit it, but they were getting cooked today by me. And any of y'all that saw it witnessed it. They was contradicting themselves. They didn't know what the hell they were talking about. And this is what bothers me about this. It makes me ask the question, do you really have a problem with Trump's policies? In fact, do you even know Trump's policies? Or do you just have a problem with the man because the world has convinced you to hate that man? Because every single time they asked one of them monkey ass questions, I had an answer, and I genuinely don't think they expected me to have an answer. I don't think they expected me to have an answer. I don't. I think they were unprepared. And see, that's what happens. If all you do is listen to the left side of the fence and the media, and you wholeheartedly believe their bullshit, you don't think there are any opposing opinions that are legitimate. You don't think there are any. See, the fact that they were shocked about certain shit and was deflecting lets me know that the things I was saying, they never heard it before. They never heard it before. You had one chick that got up there and she going to try to say, oh, well, I don't like the fact that Trump is firing all of these people. And I had to break down for her that the reason why Trump fired a bunch of people in government is because our government was never meant to be this size. our government has swollen to a level it was never meant to be. Partially because you have all of these bureaucrats that they only have jobs because these corrupt politicians just kept creating more and more bureaucracy. They kept creating more and more three-letter agencies, IRS, EPA, all of these three-letter organizations, right? So, like I told her, the government has swelled into a behemoth. It's not meant to be this size. And one of the things that Trump decided to do was get rid of the waste, not just the fraud, but the waste as well, by getting rid of and cutting a lot of these government employees. Now, the thing that people don't realize is that the only reason we have so many bureaucrats and so many of these three-letter organizations is because of a goofy ass Supreme Court ruling from back in the day that just recently got overturned called Chevron deference. Look it up. Chevron deference basically stated that whenever there's a conflict, if let's say the EPA or the IRS or the ATF, like let's use the ATF for an example. If the ATF makes a decision about a gun that infringes on the rights of average everyday Americans, so let's say they do something that is unconstitutional as it pertains to the Second Amendment. Well, if people sue the ATF because of it, Chevron deference basically stated that whenever there's a dispute, the court is going to lean more towards the three-letter organization because they're the experts. And so because they have the expertise, the court is going to lean more favorably in their direction. And that shit is wrong. Right? There are numerous cases where the average everyday citizen was in the right, but because of Chevron deference, they decided that no, the three-letter organization knows what they're talking about because they're the experts. Now, the only problem with this is we didn't vote for the people in these organizations, these three-letter organizations, these bureaucrats. We didn't vote for them. And the reason why that is a problem is because it's those three-letter agencies that really determine how all of us Americans live our lives because of the goofy policies that they make and they implement. So one of the things that's wonderful is that right around the time or right before Trump got into office, Chevron deference was overturned. And because it was overturned, in essence, it took away a lot of the power that these three-letter organizations had. So the moment that happened and Trump gets into office, he says, you know what? I'm going to start trimming the fat. I'm going to start cutting a lot of these three-letter organizations, right? You see what he did with the IRS. Not Donald Trump, Joe Biden had hired a bunch of IRS agents. The moment that Trump got into office, he got rid of those IRS agents, right? In addition to that, because of the pandemic, there were many people who were government employees that now had to work from home. But now that the pandemic is over, Donald Trump wanted those government employees to come back to the office. He said, look, we need y'all to come back to the office, because he knew the okie doke they was running. Many of them were working from home, but they wasn't doing shit. They're collecting a government check, government salary, benefits, all of that shit. And they're just sitting on their ass at home on social media, chilling, right? So Trump said, okay, I'll tell you what, this is what we're going to do. If you want to keep your job, you need to come back to the office. Come back to the office and go back to work. A lot of them refused. And so he said, okay, you want to refuse? Fine. This is what we're going to do. We're going to fire y'all. We're going to get rid of y'all. And even in getting rid of them, he gave many of them a option. Many of them would still get, I think it was 6 months pay. I could be wrong. He's going to let them go, but they would still get 6 months pay, right? Or something to that effect, right? So I broke this down on the show earlier, and they really didn't have shit to say. And part of the reason they didn't have shit to say is because many of them didn't know this. Like, they love to talk about all of the bad things about Donald Trump, but many of them are just too fucking stupid to know that there are numerous things he's done that benefits all of us as Americans. Limiting the power of the bureaucracies benefits us, because we don't need 3-letter agency bureaucrats deciding how we live our everyday lives. That's just a reality, right? In addition to that, a lot of the soldiers that were dismissed or whatever because they wouldn't take the jab, when Trump got back in office, he reinstated them and gave them back pay. But we're not going to talk about that, right? We're not going to talk about that. There are so many things that Trump has been doing lately. And see, this is what's so funny about this. What's so funny about this is these dipshits don't realize that a lot of the presidential power has been slowly eroded over the years. What Trump has been doing is ensuring that the president, the office of the presidency, gets back all of its power in the executive branch. And now these goofies are online losing their shit because they never even knew what type of power the executive branch is supposed to have in the first place. You got niggas sitting up here talking about some, well, I can't believe he fired a 4-star general and put Pete Hegseth up there. He can do what the fuck he wants to do in the executive branch. He is the commander-in-chief. If he wants to fire a 4-star general and replace him with Ronald McDonald, he can do that. What's hilarious to me is you got niggas up here talking about what the president of the United States should be doing, and these niggas can't even run the black community properly. You can't even get your shit together, but you want to tell him how to be the leader of the free world. Do you have any idea how laughable that is? Most of these Negroes have never even ran a damn In and Out. They've never even ran a Whataburger, a Wendy's, a Burger King. But they want to talk about how a multi-billionaire who became president, even though he's never held a public office, how he's supposed to run the country. And then gonna say, well, Pete Hegseth is not as qualified as the 4-star general. And I'm just sitting here listening to them talk, and I'm like, nigga, What makes you dipshits qualified to say he ain't qualified? Did you do his interview? Did you do his interview? Everybody knows that when a president gets in office, he picks his team. He decides who's going to be on his team. And considering the way those generals undermined him in his first administration, it doesn't surprise me that he picked certain people. Because here's the hilarious thing about this, right? The hilarious thing about this is in his first administration, those generals and those cabinet members who allegedly was spilling the beans and telling other people outside of Trump's circle what he was doing so they could undermine him. If you really want to be honest, all of those people were supposed to be brought up on charges. If you really want to be honest. But these ignorant fools hate Donald Trump so much that they make new rules for this president. They don't even realize that if somebody is in Donald Trump's cabinet and they are trying to undermine him, if they are trying to undermine the president, that is actually a criminal act. That is a criminal act. But for some reason, because it's Donald Trump, oh no, he can't do that. He can't do that after they just sat there and watched Joe Biden do whatever the hell he wanted to do. This shit is hilarious. This shit is hilarious. Now, every single time they said something about Donald Trump, then they brought up the Central Park Five. They brought up the Central Park Five, and I literally had to pull up the damn ad that he put in the paper for the Central Park Five. Because they tried to say, oh, he put that racist ad in the paper. Oh, really? Racist ad? Okay. This is the racist ad. This is the racist ad. And any one of you, if you would like, you can go look it up yourself. I'll put the link in the chat room. So, in the ad, this is what he said. This is what he said. I need you to pay close attention to this first part right here. What has happened to our city over the past 10 years? What has happened to law and order, to the neighborhood cop we all trusted to safeguard our homes and families? The cop who had the power under the law to help us in times of danger, keep us safe from those who would prey on innocent lives to fulfill some distorted inner need. What has happened to the to the respect of authority, the fear of retribution by the courts, society, and the police for those who break the law, who wantonly trespass on the rights of others? What has happened is the complete breakdown of life as we knew it. Many New York families, white, black, Hispanic, and Asian, have had to give up the pleasure of a leisurely stroll in the park at dusk, the Saturday visit to the playground with their families, the bike ride at dawn, or just sitting on their stoops, giving them up as hostages to a world ruled by the law of the streets, as roving bands of wild criminals roam our neighborhoods, dispensing their own vicious brand of twisted hatred for whomever they encounter. At what point did we cross the line from the fine and noble pursuit of genuine civil liberties to the reckless and dangerously permissive atmosphere which allows criminals of every age to beat and RAPE a helpless woman and then laugh at her family's anguish? And why do they laugh? They laugh because they know that soon, very soon, they will be returned to the streets to RAPE and maim and kill once again, and yet face no great personal risk to themselves. Mayor Koch has stated that hate and rancor should be removed from our hearts. I do not think so. I want to hate these muggers and murderers. They should be forced to suffer, and when they kill, they should be executed for their crimes. They must serve as examples so that others will think long and hard before committing a crime or act of violence. Now, keep in mind, the Central Park Five did not take anybody's life. So, if they didn't take anybody's life, when he says right here, I want these muggers and murder, I do not think so. I want to hate these muggers and murderers. They should be forced to suffer. And when they kill, that is a very important point. He's saying that if they take a life, they should be executed for their crimes. Right here, he's not saying, never mind, we're not going to go into all of that. They must serve as examples so others will think long and hard before committing a crime or an act of violence. Yes, Mayor Koch, I want to hate these murderers, and I always will. I am not looking to psychoanalyze or understand them. I am looking to punish them. If the punishment is strong, the attacks on innocent people will stop. I recently watched a newscast trying to explain the anger in these young men. I no longer want to understand their anger. I want them to understand our anger. My bad, y'all. I want them to understand our anger. I want them to be afraid. How can our great society tolerate these continued brutalization of its citizens by crazed misfits? Criminals must be told that their civil liberties end when an attack on our safety begins. When I was young, I sat in a diner with my father and witnessed two young bullies cursing and threatening a very frightened waitress. Two cops rushed in, lifted up the thugs, and threw them out the door, warning them never to cause trouble again. I miss the feeling of security New York's finest once gave to the citizens of this city. Let our politicians give back our police departments power to keep us safe. Unshackle them from the constant chant of police brutality, which every petty criminal hurls immediately at an officer who has just risked his or her life to save another's. We must cease our continuous pandering to the criminal population of this city. Give New York back to the citizens who have earned the right to be New Yorkers. Send a message loud and clear to those who would murder our citizens and terrorize New York. Bring back the death penalty and bring back our police. Now, here's my question. What was racist about that? What was racist about that? Can somebody tell me? See, all of these niggas that love to get on social media and YouTube and start yelling about, oh, he took out a 5-page ad. I guarantee you they've never even read the fucking thing. I guarantee you they've never even read it. Exactly. That entire thing was about law and order. It wasn't specific to no race. The only thing he said about race in this entire letter, in this entire article, was when he pointed out that New York families, many New York families, white, black, Hispanic, and Asian, have had to give up the pleasure of a leisurely stroll in the park at dusk, the Saturday visit to the playground with their families, the bike ride at dawn, or just sitting on their stoops. And if you know anything about New York in the 80s, it was hell. You would be a fool to take your ass to Central Park after dark. If you went to Central Park after dark in the 80s, you're going to get mugged, beat up. If you're a woman, possibly the R word. And in some cases, you may even lose your damn life. It was so bad back then that even to this day, some people still don't want to go to Central Park, especially after dark. But all of these disingenuous Negroes will get up here and try to act like, oh, those boys was just hanging out in the park. No, they wasn't. No, they wasn't. They may not have been guilty of RAPE, but they did not go to that park to be good Samaritans. They didn't. One of them had a lead pipe. Another one had a damn kitchen knife. And they all said, oh, we going to the park to wild out. Everybody know what wild out means. If you know anything about New York culture. Everybody. So I brought this up, and this became a point of contention. Oh, those were innocent children. Those were innocent boys. And you know what that sounds like? You know what it sounds like? You know what it sounds like? How many of y'all saw the movie A Time to Kill with Samuel L. Jackson? Y'all remember that movie? Do y'all remember that movie? If you remember, when those dudes committed that heinous crime against that little girl, when they brought them to court, this is how they were talking about them. In fact, historically, every time white folk did something to black folk, racist white people would say, those boys are innocent. See, when they commit a crime, when racist white men commit a crime, they're not men. They're referred to as boys. Those boys are innocent. Those boys didn't commit that crime. Why y'all trying to lock them boys up? And here's the funny thing. A lot of those white folks knew that those men committed those crimes. They knew it. But for the sake of racial solidarity, they would never go against each other. Not even for justice. And what I'm saying is, how the fuck are you niggas any different? How are you any different? Oh, those boys was innocent. Yeah, they was innocent. They went to the park that night to get cotton candy and freaking skip down the damn street. In the same way that Matthew McConaughey in that movie told that story of what happened to that girl, and at the end of it, he said, now imagine she's white. I did the same thing on the show today, and you should have heard, I could almost hear the hamster wheel in these niggas' heads come to a complete stop. This is what I said. I said, it was like, well, Donald Trump put out that ad, and he knew by putting out that ad, it was going to force them to be more strict on them, and this, that, and the third, and all that. And I said, bro, because they was like, all these years later, they asked Donald Trump about them, and he said he still believes they're guilty. I said, let me tell you something. I said, if that had been a black woman back in the 80s that was jogging through the park, and some white boys, some white teenage boys would have been in that park, and one of them RAPE that black woman, the entire black community would have wanted all of those boys to be locked up for the rest of their natural lives. And if it came out that only one of them actually did the deed, but one of the other boys held her down and the others were just there, first and foremost, you niggas wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't have believed it. And you know why you wouldn't have believed it? You wouldn't have believed it because it was a black woman that it happened to, and it was white boys that did it. You wouldn't have believed it. And if they were exonerated the way the Central Park 5 was exonerated, y'all would be screaming to the top of the mountain. To this day, you would be saying they only got away with it and got off because they white. And I know this to be a fact. That's why this shit is hilarious that you would sit here and say, I can't believe Trump is still saying they guilty. The same way you would say they guilty. If they were white men or white teenage boys that did this to a black woman. And I say that to point out the fact that you, many of you, have become just as racist as the people that you claim are racist that you dislike. And that's just a fact. That's just a fact. Because you still do it to this day. You still do it to this day. When that Travis Hunter situation, not Travis Hunter, when that Carmelo Anthony situation happened. You still don't believe to this day that that boy did something wrong to that white boy. Despite all of the evidence. Despite all of the evidence, you still believe that he didn't do nothing wrong. That whole story fell apart. And I'm sitting back looking at it. I'm like, if that white boy would have walked under the tent that Carmelo Anthony was sitting under, and Carmelo Anthony told him, hey, man, you're not supposed to be under this tent, and that white boy would have stabbed him in the chest and took his life, y'all be calling for the death penalty. You wouldn't be making no excuses for him. You'd be saying he wasn't supposed to be under that tent. Why was he even under there? He was just looking for trouble. He just wanted to do something to somebody black. Y'all are hypocrites. Like, I sit back and I watch you be hypocrites. I watch you say some of the dumbest shit in the world, and then you have the nerve to sit back and act like you're not just as racist, just as prejudiced. And so then we get into an argument about, even though niggas conceded later and said, well, I agree, black people can be racist. When we first started talking about the shit, these niggas told me black people couldn't be racist. Then when I started breaking shit down and cooking their ass, then all of a sudden, oh, well, no, I did say that they could be racist. No, you didn't. Not at the offset. Not at the beginning. You didn't. Now watch this. Because niggas is going to stop playing with me. Like, I don't know what I'm talking about. I know what the hell I'm talking about. So here we have the etymology of the word racism. So it says, the word racism combines the root race with the suffix ism, indicating a system of belief or ideology. The concept emerged centuries ago to justify exploitation, but the exact English term is relatively modern. Race entered Middle French between the 14th and 17th centuries, though linguistics suspect it ultimately derives from the Arab ras, head or origin. It evolved to classify groups of people sharing common descent or physical traits. First usage, 1902. The Oxford English Dictionary records the earliest English print usage by U.S. Army Lieutenant Richard Henry Pratt. Ironically, he coined it while decrying racial segregation and assimilation policies. Early 20th century, the term initially competed with the older word racialism. It only gained widespread negative usage globally following the rise of the Nazi ideology in World War II. Right? So what I did is I pulled up, let's see. I pulled up the word racialism. So, racialism is the belief that humanity can be neatly divided into biologically distinct races and that these groups inherently possess specific traits, abilities, or behaviors. While often used interchangeably with racism, racialism strictly refers to the underlying belief in fixed racial categorizations and essential biological differences. Key concepts: biological categorization, the view that distinct races have immutable inherited characteristics that determine intelligence, behavior, or cultural tendencies. Connection to racism. Historically, racialism serves as the foundation for racism, as categorizing people into rigid hierarchies allows for discrimination, systemic prejudice, or the belief that one is superior to another, right? And guess what? You niggas be running around here all the time talking about how you're genetically superior to white people. All the time. Scientific rejection. Modern genetics and the scientific community reject racialism, noting that physical characteristics such as skin color do not correlate to deep biological differences. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? So, what I decided to do, I decided to get a little bit of help from Claude, right? So, I asked Claude a question because I wanted to see what Claude was going to say about it. Let me scroll back so I can find it. Okay. So let's pull this up real quick. Now, like I said before, out of all of the AIs that I've been using, some people like to use Perplexity. I've been using Claude lately, and Claude has been pretty good about giving some decent answers. So we're gonna check this out, right? So I asked Claude, I said, can racism only exist in a system? In other words, do you have to have a system of power to practice racism, right? Let me see if I can zoom in a little more. So it says, this is one of the genuinely contested questions, and the honest answer is that it depends entirely on which definition you're using. Now, I said to them earlier, I said there is more than one definition of racism. I said to these Negroes, you got two types of racism. You got plain old garden variety racism, which is going to be a racist white person hurling a racist slur. Right? That's regular old racism, which is something we all can participate in. All of us can do that. All of us can do that. If you're a black person and you call a Latin person a racial insult, you're being racist. If a Latin person calls a white person by a racial insult, they're being racist. This is not even a question. That's one form of racism. Then you have institutional racism, which is when someone uses power to discriminate on someone solely based on race or affect their life in any type of way using their power. Right? I said this. So, niggas act like I didn't know what I was talking about. Let's get back to it. So I asked the question, can racism only exist in a system? In other words, do you have to have a system of power to practice racism? This is one of the genuinely contested questions. And the honest answer is it depends entirely on which definition you're using. There's no neutral dictionary that settles this. I'll say that again. There's no neutral dictionary that settles it. Let me lay it out. Let me lay out the two main camps. The prejudice plus power view says, yes, racism requires a system. On this account, racism isn't just a belief or an attitude. It's prejudice operating through institutional power. Who gets hired, policed, lent to, sentenced, educated. The reasoning is that an individual's bias only becomes racism proper when it's backed by structures that can actually distribute outcomes. Under this definition, a person from a marginalized group can hold racial prejudice or even hatred, but can't be racist in the full sense because they lack the systemic leverage to make that prejudice consequential at scale. This view is common in sociology and academic anti-racism. Now, I find it interesting that they say sociology and academic anti-racism. You know why I find that interesting that they said that? Because it's fucking new. This is a new concept. Why is it a new concept? Because the world is filled with a bunch of liberal hippie assholes. And they want to make it seem like black people are perpetual victims. This view is common in sociology and academic anti-racism. It grew out of trying to explain why racism persists even when individual bigotry declines. The point is to direct attention to outcomes and institutions rather than just the hearts and minds. The standard dictionary view says no, racism doesn't require a system. I'm going to say it again. The standard dictionary view says no, racism doesn't require a system. Most major dictionaries still define racism primarily as prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed at someone because of their race, an attitude or action that any person of any group can hold or commit. So again, going back to what I said to these niggas on the damn show, there's two types of racisms. If I'm walking down the street and a white guy drives by and he yells nigga with the hard ER, he's being racist based upon the standard dictionary view. Most major dictionaries still define racism primarily as prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed at someone because of their race. Now, if indeed I go into a bank and a white guy is in there, and he said, and I ask him, hey, I'm trying to get a bank loan. And he says, well, give me 1 second. And then he goes into the back office and he tells the other workers there, I'm not giving that nigga a loan. That is prejudice plus power. That is racism that requires a system. This is why I said that if I'm walking down the street and a white guy yells out of his window a racial slur, he is practicing racism. If I get to the bank and that same white guy is in the bank and he refuses to give me a loan, he is now practicing institutional racism. Those are two different things. Not to mention the fact that I can pinpoint where this concept of institutional racism came from. It came from an episode of Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher, where these niggas set up on a damn show and said, we can't be racist because we don't have any institutional power. Prior to that show, I never heard nobody talk about no damn, we can't be racist. But ever since that show, every nigga on the planet tries to justify their bigotry and their prejudice by claiming that it is impossible for black folk to be racist because we don't have any power. And it's bullshit. It is bullshit. You, as a black person, may not be able to practice institutional racism, but you can most certainly practice normal, regular racism where you are judging people solely on the race they are or the color of their damn skin. Now, the funny thing about this is you do have black folk in some high places. You do have some black faces in some high places that do use their institution for racism. One example is Mayor Lori Lightfoot when she was the mayor of Chicago. She made it very clear that she was not going to hire any white men. Now, given the fact that she was a mayor at the time and had institutional power behind her, especially since Chicago is a Democrat city and Democrats will do anything to pander to niggas and kiss their asses, that means she had the full support of the institution to institute a policy that she was not going to hire any white men. That, my friend, is institutional racism practiced by a black woman. Checkmate, motherfuckers. Checkmate. is different when Angryman can express his thoughts concisely without being interrupted every couple of fucking minutes. And by the way, to take it a step further, I tried to make a point and was not allowed to finish my thought. So I'll finish it here. I stated to them that white supremacy is a misnomer. What do I mean by a misnomer? What I mean is the entire concept of white supremacy begins and hinges on the idea, which we just saw in the definition of racism or racialism, that white people are inherently superior to other races, right? Which is not true. Okay? So it's a misnomer. And the reason why I say it's a misnomer is because due to the fact that they have created a space where they do have power, people inadvertently think that they are supreme. And this is the reason why them niggas sat up there and tried to argue with me, but they do have power. They're able to do this and they're able to do that. And I said to them, you don't understand what white supremacy is. White supremacy is an ideological view that states and forces you to believe that they are inherently superior to you. This is reinforced with conditioning. When you open up a book or a dictionary and you look up the word black, every single definition is negative. When you look at the word white, every single definition is positive. Black is defined as ugly, dirty, bad luck, all of these foul things. White is defined as pure, innocent, clean. Whenever something bad happens, it gets the black label. Stock market crashes, that's Black Monday. The Black Plague, Black Magic, right? As pure as the driven snow. All of these things were constructed within culture to reinforce the concept that white is supreme and black is subordinate. Now, what is the reason that I'm saying this? The reason that I'm saying this is because many of these niggas have a thought process that starts and ends in white supremacy ideology. This is the reason why when I said white supremacy is a misnomer, these niggas were quick to say, but they got power though. They can do this and they can do that. And the only thing I can really say to those niggas is shut your stupid ass up. Because you just might learn something if you shut the hell up. White supremacy is a fucking magic trick. It's an illusion. It doesn't truly exist. Do they have power? Yes, absolutely. But had we done the same things that they did, had any other group done the same things that they did, you would have the exact same amount of fucking power. In fact, at one point, as a group, you did have that type of power. Most of you don't know this. This is the reason why they dislike your ass so much. Because everybody gets a turn. There is always going to be a point in history where one group has more power than everybody else. So when we're looking at the concept of white supremacy and me trying to explain to them that this is a misnomer, right? I prefaced it with that because I wanted them to understand. If you have a thought process that starts with the concept that white people are supreme, your thought process is already corrupted. Now, let me give you an example. An example of this is when I say black people can be racist, and someone says, no, we can't. And I say, okay, so are you saying that white people can be racist? Yes, they can be racist. Why can they be racist? Oh, it's because they have institutions, and it's because of this, it's because of that, right? You don't even realize you're doing it. When you say that, you're putting white people up here and you're putting black people down here. You're basically saying that we are perpetual victims. You're basically saying that we don't have any power. You're basically saying that they are so powerful, so supreme, that if they say nigga, that word, that concept has the power to ruin your life. But if you say cracker, it don't matter. So why does it matter when they say it, but it don't matter when you say it? Because in your mind, when they say something, it's important. And when you say something, it's not. Which means you operate in the mind state of someone who has been thoroughly programmed by white supremacy. I'll give you another example. And this example came about a while back when I was having a debate with Cynthia G. Cynthia G said that a black man cannot be pro-black and sleep white. In other words, if a black man is in a relationship with a white woman, he cannot possibly be pro-black. Right? This is what she said. This is what a lot of them said. This is what a lot of women said in these spaces. So when it was presented to me, this is what I said. I said, if you had a Ku Klux Klan member, a white guy, right? Ku Klux Klan member, a white supremacist, a racist. If he's sleeping with a black woman or even married to a black woman, does he stop being a white supremacist? No, he doesn't. So if you have a white man that dates or is in a relationship with black women, that black woman does not trump his ideology or his position in white supremacy. Why is this? Because you don't base that white man's position or ideological view on who he sleeps with or dates. Because in your mind, he is superior. So since he's superior, he can sleep with any woman on the planet. He can sleep with black women. He could sleep with Latin women. He could sleep with Asian women. He could even marry those women. Doesn't change who he is. Because in your mind, he is so supreme that nothing can corrupt or change what he deems to be his belief and his mission. But in your mind, the black man is so fucking weak that all he gotta do is sleep with a white woman, and all of a sudden, this nigga ain't pro-black. All of a sudden, he doesn't give a shit about his people, his cause, or his mission. And the reason why you think like that, you so-called pro-black niggas, is because you have been trained so fucking thoroughly that your dumbass is a white supremacist masquerading as a pro-black nigga, and you so stupid you don't even realize it. And that's what I mean when I say you don't even understand white supremacy. You don't even have a clue. You don't even know that you're operating off of their program. You don't even know that you're operating off of the premise of their foundation of falsehood. But if I'm on a panel and I try to educate you about this point, oh, Angryman don't know what he's talking about. Angryman don't know what he's talking about. Nah, I do know what I'm talking about. I do know what I'm talking about. I'm just so fucking prolific that you ain't never heard or seen anybody break this shit down like this. And because you've never seen anybody break this shit down like this, and it's so foreign to you, it gotta be wrong. Right? But it ain't surprising. Because I'm pretty sure back in the day when some prolific Negro told the rest of you niggas that you didn't have to be slaves, you probably thought he was crazy. You probably thought he was batshit crazy. What do you mean we can be something more than slaves? What do you mean we can be free? We've always been slaves. Brother, don't you know? You wasn't always slaves. You lying, nigga. I don't want to hear this. You gonna get us in trouble with massa. You lying, nigga. But instead of listening, you just want to come at me crazy. Let me tell you something. I remember when I was younger, when I was a young man, I was standing outside of my grandmother's house. And my grandmother said, she was like, something wrong with the weather. It ain't usually this hot this time of year. Because it was October and it was fairly warm, right? So my grandmother, used to it being fall, said normally, because most of her life during that time of year starts getting cold. And she said, not only is it warmer than it normally is, but the weatherman said that it was supposed to be cold like it normally is, but it's warm out here. As a young man, I looked my grandma straight in the face and I said, Grandma, has it ever crossed your mind that these white folks don't know what the hell they talking about? Nigga, I've always been this way. And it ain't simply of me. I know this is a God-given gift. Because I don't view shit the way the rest of you niggas view shit. I don't. And it's frustrating because when I'm trying to explain to you something that is just as clear as day to me, you niggas have such a hard time grasping it. And all you want to do is argue with me. And like I said at the beginning of this stream, I get tired of arguing with y'all. I get tired of it. And I don't feel the need to continue doing it because I know what I'm fucking talking about. And I'm tired of trying to convince you niggas that I know what I'm talking about. Like, I'm tired of trying to convince y'all. I could do an entire thesis on how black people who genuinely think they're pro-black are really operating within the rules and guidelines of white supremacy. See, it's just like with a computer. A computer has a BIOS, which is the bare bones operating system. That's there before you install Windows. See, many of you, your pro-black ideology is Windows, but your BIOS is white supremacy. See, white supremacy was there before you even had the pro-blackness downloaded into your brain. And it is because of that, your pro-blackness will never really be pro-blackness. It'll never be pro-blackness. Because one thing about them, they were smart enough to make sure that their program was first before we even get to pro-black and all that. Because when you're a little kid in elementary school, hell, we ain't even got to go back to elementary school. Before kindergarten, when you were a little baby, walking around your house, the way your mama and daddy talk is white supremacy. The TV on in the background that you're listening to and don't realize consciously that you're hearing it, but subconsciously you're taking it all in. That shit's white supremacy. The coloring books you had, the children's stories you read, all of that shit, every last bit of it. So by the time you even understand the concept of being pro-black and having pride in being a black people, by the time you even get there, you're thoroughly programmed, nigga. Thoroughly. Why do you think that doll test works? Now they take the black girls and the white girls and they sit them in front of a couple of dolls. They sit them in front of a black doll and a white doll. Why do you think that little black girl picks that white doll? Y'all don't even know. You don't even understand that shit. Why do you think the little black girl picks the white doll? Because the shit is already programmed in. And then you got dudes that come over here talking about some, oh, angry man, you hate your own people. Angry man, you a coon. Angry man, you a sellout. I understand my people a million times more than you goofy ass niggas that get up here trying to perform for fucking clout. Because there's a bunch of you niggas that get up here and you try to act like you so pro-black. And you're not. You're not. You ain't pro-black. You're a carbon copy of a racist Jim Crow white person. You're just doing your black version of it. Because the way you go in on Donald Trump, it ain't no different than how them racist white folks was going in on Barack Obama the entire time he was in office. They hated him being in office, not because they disagreed with his policies, not because they thought he wasn't or couldn't be a good president. They couldn't stand him being in that office because he was black. The same way You can't stand Donald Trump being in that office because he white. It ain't got shit to do with his policy. It ain't got shit to do with the gas prices. It ain't got shit to do with that Iran war. Since when do you niggas care about what's going on in Iran? Since when? Since when do you care what's going on in Venezuela? Since when do you care what's going on outside of a 5-block radius of your neighborhood? You ain't never cared. Now all of a sudden you care about the whole world. And most of the countries you running around here caping for can't stand niggas. And here's what's hilarious about it. As much as you run around here talking all of this goofy shit, at the end of the day, your goofy ass got more in common with white folk than you do any of the other people in these countries. In fact, you black Americans have more in common with white Americans than you do with Africans, than you do with Jamaicans, than you do with Haitians. The only thing that separates you from white Americans is your skin color. That's it. Process, you operate the same way, you do the same shit. You do the same shit. You do the same shit. Nowadays, black folks out here, y'all can't wait to get into a fight with a white person. You know what that reminds me of? The Jim Crow era, when white folks couldn't wait to get into some shit with you. But Angry Man, what about institutional racism? Look at how the cops do us. Look at how the politicians do us. Let me tell you something. If I could snap my fingers and switch everything to where black folk, where you were predominantly the police, if I could snap my fingers and we had a predominantly black government, meaning most of the people that are in all three branches were black people. Most of the people in the armed forces, in the FBI, in every police force were black people. You know what you would be doing? Brutalizing white folk. That's what you'd be doing. As police officers, you would go to white neighborhoods and you would harass the shit out of them. You would write policies that are prejudiced as fuck. You would practice the same nepotism that they practice. You do all the same shit. So if you want to sit back and try to pretend like you got some noble altruistic cause that if you were in power, you would be benevolent, you can say that bullshit for somebody else because it's a lie. Because you ain't benevolent now and you don't even have that type of power. So I know what the hell you would be if you had the damn power. You ain't even really got power like that. And you out here talking crazy about white folk. You out here talking about what you gonna do to them. You ain't even got power like that. You ain't even got power like that. And you out here fighting the police, wilding out. So what would you do if you did have power? What would you do if you had power? I tell you what you wouldn't do. I tell you what you wouldn't do. You wouldn't be trying to create programs for white folk. You wouldn't give a damn if they, matter of fact, if you was in power, you would give black folk that are impoverished food stamps, and you wouldn't even give white folks any food stamps. And you can, and any of you that want to tell any of your lies, you can say that shit for somebody else, because I've witnessed the shit. I've witnessed it in my lifetime. Back in the day when I used to rip and run the streets, let me tell you something. Any white folk that made the mistake of trying to hang around niggas, let's just say it wasn't pretty. I remember one day we were at this park having a cookout. And one of the dudes I knew, we all out there, and these two white girls that knew him because they went to school with him, they just happened to be at the park and seen him and came over and started talking to him. And at first, it was cool. Didn't nobody have no issue, none of that shit, right? Well, at some point, and I still don't remember how it got started. At some point, one of the chicks that was out there with us started talking shit to one of the white girls. I don't even know why, but you know, we can guess, right? And so when the one chick started talking shit to the white girls, the rest of them joined in, right? So the dudes, we all standing around watching it, and the white girls, they tried to get in, they got in their car, they was able to get to their car and was getting ready to leave, right? But when you got a bunch of people out there, it's hard for you to, you know how it is when everybody swarm up or whatever, right? So they're trying to leave, but they can't get out because there's so many people, right? So somebody was telling them, just go. Because like it was, you know, it was kind of clearing up. It was like, yo, let them go. Just go, right? And so as they was trying to leave, one of the black girls had picked up a rock and threw it and hit the window on the passenger side, and it didn't break. Once it didn't break, the rest of the chicks started throwing rocks until it broke. Once that window broke, them girls drugged those white girls out of that freaking car, and it was brutal. And all of us dudes had to try to break it up and shit. Because I'm like, yo, y'all are bugging out. Now, I can sit here and tell you all day that shit happened because there was some sort of disagreement. But I know better. I know why it happened. It happened because two white girls had the nerve to come to a cookout that was full of black people. And what I'm saying is, how is that any different than back in the day if two black people made the mistake of going around a bunch of racist white people? How's it different? How's it different? It's not. It's not. But see, what'll happen is black people will justify it in their mind by saying, well, look at what they used to do to us. Look at what they used to do to us. That's how they justify it. And what you don't realize is what they used to do to us, they justify that from what we used to do to them. It's a cycle. It's a cycle. See, if black folk get in power, then they're going to be like, oh, well, we're doing this because of what they used to do. And then when white folk get in power again, they'll say, well, we're doing this because of what they used to do. Or if the Chinese get in power, we're doing this because of what they used to do. Like right now, you look at Iran. What's going on in Iran? Let's say 100 years from now, Iran is back on top. You think they're gonna forget all of this shit? No, this shit that's going on right now is gonna be in their history books. It's gonna be in their history books. So y'all can sit up here and y'all can pretend like, oh, we don't engage in racism. That's not what we do. Shit. Please. Who do y'all think y'all fooling? Who do y'all think y'all fooling? Because you ain't fooling me.
BINO check. If you're in the building, show your work. Drop 20 on the Super Chat or Cash App.
See what we got going on here. Let's see. Shout out to my man Aaron. He said, August 84, Reagan said, we are a nation under God or a nation gone under. Yuri Bezmenov said the communists would redivide the races to take down America. Both are now true.
That's that BINO energy.
See, shout out to Aaron again. He said, BINO homework. Go watch Dr. Soul crush Francis Scott Piven in the 1970s on these very topics with William Buckley. Yeah, I actually saw that. I actually saw that debate.
That's that BINO energy.
With William F. Buckley. I saw that debate, and I saw the one between William F. Buckley and James Baldwin, too. Shout out to Aaron again. He said 3 men on par with the founders: Walter Williams, Clarence Thomas, Dr. Soul. We already lost Dr. Williams. That was a sad day. It'll be a sad day when the other two meet God. All three have done more than what can be said for this country. Facts.
That's that BINO energy.
Let's see. Shout out to Damon. He says, salute. Appreciate you.
That's that BINO energy.
Let's see. Shout out to Kendra in the building. Appreciate you.
That's that BINO energy.
Let's see. Shout out to Corbin. He said, what's up, AM?
That's that BINO energy.
Shout out to Chill Let Go.
That's that BINO energy.
He said, for the roll call, big dog. Also, I'm proud to say I moved out. I'm not staying in a culture that wants to destroy me and the women want to belittle me. I'm good. Appreciate you, bro. Shout out to Dwayne. He said, I got you, AM, present for the roll call.
That's that BINO energy.
Appreciate you. See, shout out to Dwayne again. He said, doubling up on AM Church.
That's that BINO energy.
Let's see. Oh my God, did I just do that? Hold on 1 second, you guys. You gotta scroll back. Let's see. Okay, let me look it up over here real quick. Viewer activity. Let's see. Is that it? Yeah, that's it right there. Shout out to Grady. Said, is that Shiva, god of destruction, behind you? No, that is not.
That's that BINO energy.
My bad, y'all. I had to scroll back to get that one. Let's see. Shout out to Jay Jermaine.
That's that BINO energy.
He said, racist because many of you ninjas will leap whenever a white person and a ninja get into an intense situation, regardless of facts. That's the truth. That's the truth. Shout out to my man Trey, the truth teller in the building. He said, put some color in the chat. Cook this ninja hard with.
That's that BINO energy.
That's funny. Shout out to Donnell. He said, what up, AM and BINOs?
That's that BINO energy.
Appreciate you. Shout out to King Cato. He said, sad to say, but a lot of our fellow blacks lack real intelligence and they don't understand their own identity.
That's that BINO energy.
Let's see. Who else we got? Shout out to World Traveler, said, AM, will you soon be doing a show about the recent NAACP request for black athletes to boycott the SEC? Nah, I doubt I'll do a story on that.
That's that BINO energy.
Let's see. And I think that's all for the BINO roll call. Shout out to everybody for supporting on the BINO roll call. I definitely appreciate it. Let's see. We got to go to the super chats.
It's that time again. We going up.
It's time to read the super chats.
Wait a minute, we got a 50 spot. Shout out to A Burn King. He said, heavy cooking AM. Appreciate you.
That's that BINO energy.
Appreciate that, fam. So let's see who we got. We got Jay Jermaine. He said, yes, we have become the new Jim Crow. Shout out to Brain Clarity. He says some support AM. Appreciate you. Shout out to Martin Muhammad. He said, AM, you came in hot on last night's convo. LOL. I enjoy the convos with you and the brothers, but often bros talk too much about irrelevant aspects. Word. Shout out to the low. Shout out to Constructicon. He said, Angryman remind me of my uncle, but he younger. Shout out to Double A. What's going on, fam? Shout out to Jay Jermaine again. He said, if black people have no power, explain black women in media. Shout out to Brain Clarity. He said, for any form of institution to exist, regardless, requires large numbered, similar thinking individuals who together agree on a way of operating and living. That's a fact. Let's see. He said, Brain Clarity said, black person strongly dislike black people and thinks white people are better by default than black person is a white supremacist ideology is colorless. Yeah. Shout out to Brain Clarity. He said, when white guy think black woman fine is not racist. Shout out to Pont Flair said shout out to AM for cooking up. Shout out to the chat. My bad, y'all. Shout out to the Diz in the building. See who else we got. Let's see. We got a couple cash apps. Shout out to Bruce. He said, struggle with. Appreciate you, bro. Let's see. Shout out to my man Aaron again. He said, cool genetic fact. Most black FBAs are from Austro-Indonesian genetics that came here with Polynesians between 3,000 and 5,000 years ago. the phonography is much different than African. Seems pre-Columbian Americans was as mixed as America today, maybe more. Word, appreciate that, bro.
That's that BINO energy.
Let's see who else we got. Shout out to Eric. He said, AM, did you see Rick Ross show struggle? OVO. Yeah, I saw that. Shout out to INP. He said, salute to the light-skinned god. AM, blacks are exposing them. Let's see. Shout out to Dark Power. Appreciate David. He said, for the show. Shout out to La Paris. Said, preach. Shout out to DJ Vapor. Said, yeah, and soon as you address it, they backed out. Yeah. Let's see. Shout out to Malcolm. He said, keep up the hard work, AM. Shout out to Eric. He said, the largest minority group in America is disabled. And shout out to Eric again. He said, and you don't see them complaining in mass. Yeah. Yeah. But shout out to everybody that came through, man. I appreciate y'all for hanging out with me for this little cook session. But I'm about to get up out of here, man. I am sleepy as hell, bro. I've been up most of last night on Trey's panel, and then I stayed up this morning, and bro, I ain't had no sleep in a minute. So I'm about to get up out of here and take my behind to sleep. Salute to the whole BINO Nation. I appreciate you guys for supporting the show, all of that good stuff. But with that being said, I'm about to get up out of here, and I'm going to holler at you guys tomorrow. Deuces.
The session is closed. The board is dismissed.
I gave you the blueprint, now go build a state. Stop arguing with broke, man, stop debating with fate. We don't negotiate value, we dictate the price. You watch the show for free, I just gave you a slice. But the real ones know where the equity lives. We taking everything, we got nothing to give. The manual is waiting, you know where it's at. This ain't a gamble, it's a guaranteed bet.
Build, protect, lead. Go and plant the seed. Build, protect, lead. That's the code we need. Go to the site, secure the command. The Angryman Channel, the standard of the land.
TheAngrymanChannel.com.
Get the shirt, get the book.
Start watching, start working. We up.
The session is closed. The board is dismissed.